Hey, this is another video on face and body reading. Also, I have personally no interest in the royal family, or the overall usefulness of having one. Here I want to talk about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, about their recent engagement and the interviews they gave with BBC. Okay, let's get started.
Your Royal Highness Meghan Markle, congratulations to you both.
Thank you.
Can we start with the proposal and the actual moment of your engagement?
I don't know the BBC interviewer, but she's probably not the best person to conduct this sort of happy couple interview. She has this asymmetric expression on her face, which indicates superiority. She might be very cynical about the whole thing. She might not think that it will last, or she might be cynical about love in general. She's also these angular eyebrows, which means that she's very mentally in control. She wants to be right. Also, on one side, on the left side, you can see the white of the eye underneath her pupil. So it indicates mental instability or potentially even depression. So there's something not particularly positive about her. And then personally, I don't like the purple. There's nothing to do with the interview, but purple is a royal color. I personally don't like it because it's a mixture of a warm color, red, and a cold color, blue. In Christian religion, it has to do with the birth and death of Christ. It's a little bit in between life and death color. It's not my favorite color. It makes her look very cold, like the Ice Queen. Okay, let's go back to the happy couple.
When did it happen? How did it happen?
It happened a few weeks ago, earlier this month, here at our cottage.
Cottage, understatement. I think it's quite big.
It's a standard, typical night for us.
It's a cozy night. It was what we're doing, just roasting chicken and
Roasting
having
a chicken, trying to roast a chicken.
trying to roast a chicken, and it was just an amazing surprise. It was so sweet and
A lot of eye contact, a lot of touching, a lot of mirroring. Also, she has his hand on her side, grasping it with two hands. She doesn't want to let go of him.
natural and very romantic. He got on one knee.
Of course.
Was it an instant yes from you?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I could barely let you finish proposing. I was like, "Can I say yes now?"
She didn't even let me finish. She said, "Can I say yes? Can I
They
yes?"
finish each other's sentences. It's also very typical for people in love.
And then there was hugs, and I had the ring in my.
So a lot of illustrators. He used the arm to illustrate the hug. He's overall in the interview using a lot of illustrators, which is generally a good sign. It's a congruency between the body language and what he's saying.
Finger, and I was like, "Can I give you the ring?" She goes, "Oh yes, the ring." So no, it was a really nice moment. It was just the two of us, and I think I managed to catch.
Again, eye contact. This is certainly the first stage of love. It's a lot of smiling, gazing into each other's eyes. Also, this attraction is caused by a neurotransmitter, dopamine, and it gets people excited. It's like a drug. Suppression of serotonin, which can even lead to obsessive behavior. So there's no reasoning at this moment. They're just in love. This is the first stage of love. Later stages would be becoming a couple. That's what they're starting to do now, everything very fast. And then there's a stage of disillusionment. This is the stage when the couple often breaks apart, when a relationship ends. And this is a key to get beyond the stage. The following stage would be creating a real lasting love, often years later, and it often is accompanied by marriage, potentially having kids. And this is then based off not of physical attraction necessarily, but on respect. And to make this work at this stage, it is ideal if the two people have similar backgrounds. Because when it's about upbringing of a child, the couple will look at their own parents and their own background because it's all they know. And if that is sort of compatible, it makes it much easier. Of course, there's very different backgrounds, so that might lead to difficulties later. In particular, it's so unequal. It's going to be all about the royal family and very little about her background. This unequal background will make it very hard later to succeed in a relationship.
Quite a whirlwind. Is that how it's felt to you?
So whirlwind, both are thinking.
I don't think
He's smiling. He thinks certainly it has been like a whirlwind. And that's also what he likes about the whole thing, about being with someone very unconventional, from an American background, being very different from the stiff royal family. He is really excited.
that I would call it a whirlwind.
And she's a responsible one. She's saying it hasn't been like a whirlwind. But, here they don't agree.
And in terms of our relationship, obviously there have been layers attached to how public.
Now
it
he
has
doesn't like
become.
that. He sniffs. There's a little bit of contempt with his asymmetric facial expression. This is, of course, not what he likes about the relationship. He likes the spontaneous, the unconventional. And now she's explaining how it hasn't been whirlwind.
After we had a good 5, 6.
So he has, sometimes when she speaks and when she's sort of the responsible one, he's blinking and he has this sort of quite serious expression on his face. So this is not, of course, what he really likes about her in the relationship.
6 months almost with just privacy, which was amazing. But no, I think we were able to really have so much time just to connect.
So here, sometimes when she looks at him and she's explaining something, she looks very worried. She has these wrinkles on her forehead. So I don't know what this is. It might be that she's really just sort of worried it's a stage in the relationship, that she might lose him. She's also holding on to his hand here with her two hands.
And we never went longer than 2 weeks without seeing each other, even though we were obviously doing a long distance relationship. So
Here he smiles a little bit.
it's we made it work.
How did you first meet?
Yes, we first met. We were introduced
Seem to have been good.
actually by a mutual friend who
We should protect her
She's a responsible one. She wants to protect her privacy, of course.
privacy and
protect her
not
privacy. Yeah.
reveal too much of that.
And but it was literally it was through her, and then we met once and then twice back to back, 2 dates in London last July.
Yes.
Beginning of July.
A lot of back and forth, helping each other out. Okay, let's move a little later.
Even then, because I'm from the States, you don't grow up with the same understanding of the royal family, and so
So when she says royal family, he moves away. He seems to be displeased with the idea of the royal family.
while I
And
know
he makes this sniffing sound again. This seems to be an indicator of potentially elements of contempt, something unpleasant. He did this before.
So a week and then going back and then straight into filming the next day, 4 a.m. wake
A lot
up
of
on
illustrators.
Monday,
Yes.
straight into set, and
right off the plane and straight.
So she is basically mirroring now. She's doing the same. She's repeating what he said and using similar mirrored language.
To set and just coming
I'm just
back
trying
and
to
doing it again.
trying to stay as close as possible.
There's a misconception that because I have worked in the entertainment industry that this would be something I would be familiar with. But even though I've been on my show,
He made this little mouth shrug. He doesn't seem to like too much when she talks about her background and her independent work and so on. And she was married before, so it's probably not the most pleasant thing to think about.
for I guess 6 years at that point, and working before that, I've never been part of tabloid culture. I've never been in pop culture to that degree, and
So he doesn't like that when she talks about her background.
lived a relatively quiet life,
Blinking
even
a
though I
lot.
focused so much on my job. And so
So it's very American to talk about her job. He later talks a lot about team. He uses a team language, tackling, and so on. And she often talks about herself and her job and so on, which is also a difference in culture. This is very American.
nurturing our relationship
Us, yeah.
on us.
So when they talk about us, that's they like to live in the moment. But he doesn't want to think about her past. They like thinking about them as a couple.
Of course, it's disheartening. It's a shame that is the climate in this world, to focus that much on that, or that would be discriminatory in that sense. But I think,
He doesn't look pleased again, but maybe it's about the racial discrimination.
at the end of the day, I'm really just proud of who I am and where I come from. And
So he makes this little mouth shrug again. So somehow he doesn't like too much when she talks about her background. This might also mean that he's worried that his dad does not approve of her, that she's not interviewing like a royal bride.
I think it makes it really easy to just enjoy being together. And
Yeah, together, that's what it was like.
Yeah.
There's no doubt they're in love. The question is, does it last?
Now that it is all official, Prince Harry, do you have that sense that the combination of the two of you, your different backgrounds, that you together represent something new for the
Different backgrounds, he's pressing his lips together. There's something he's hiding, something he's afraid of saying potentially.
something new for the royal family?
I don't know if it's something new.
So she smiled, she liked the ideas that there's something new to the royal
I think
family.
it's
And now she's looking down when he says it's nothing new.
for me, it's an added member of the family. It's another team player as part of the bigger team, and for
So he uses a lot this team language. Maybe he likes rugby or cricket or something.
all of us, all we want to
I
do.
don't know
is be able
anything
to-
about him.
that everything, all the stars were aligned. Everything was just perfect. It was this beautiful woman just sort of literally tripped and fell into my life. I fell into her life, and the fact that she
Very
was
nice dynamics.
really unbelievably good at the job part of it as well.
Children?
Not
It's interesting. Again, a pause. It doesn't look like they talked about it. Otherwise, they might have looked at each other. So I don't think they planned too much ahead.
Plans?
not currently, no.
No, he's very humorous. I mean, you have to give it to him. He's very humorous and funny. A little quirky and goofy, but he's quite likable. She's also a very good character. Very outgoing, very friendly.
No, of course, I think one
Very
thing
refreshing.
at a time, and hopefully we'll start a family.
you've been at home a lot.
Yes.
Yes.
No, we've well, yeah, we had to sort of reverse the whole process, and cozy nights in front of the television, cooking dinner with just the two of us by ourselves in our little cottage, rather than going out for dinner and being seen in public, to know each other without other people, looking or trying to take photos on their phones and all that kind of stuff. With that
pain. She looked away.
Comes with the job, comes
She might have liked it better to have done more in public.
the role, but where possible.
Yeah. And we were able to really get to know each other that way. But
So she's repeating essentially what he said. He looks slightly annoyed with the eye blinking.
also then to go and have friends over for
Eye
dinner
blinking.
or to go
Now
to
she
his
talks about
family
friends
for
and
tea
family.
or
He looked away.
any of those sort of things. And even, just to take the...
Have you met the Queen?
I have, yes.
A couple of times.
What was
Sure,
that
a
like?
couple of times.
So now it was interesting. So when she said, oh, what was she like? He looked at her to make her answer the question very quickly. The Queen, his grandmother, is certainly very important to him. And it's not very unusual. Grandkids are often very close to their grandparents. These are often easier relationships than with the parents directly.
It's incredible. I think, to be able to meet her through his lens, not just with his honor and respect for her as the monarch, but the love that he has for her as his grandmother.
What was it like introducing Meghan to your father and your brother?
Oh, big pause, yeah, and closing the eyes. Oh no.
What was it like? It was exciting.
So now he's going back to the sort of standard PR routine, exciting, everything fine. So this certainly shows that he has not a good relationship with his father and his brother necessarily even.
I've been
He's scratching, he's dissipating some anxiety.
for a period of time when I literally didn't tell anybody at all.
He's misspoke even now. So there's certainly an issue here. If you want to have a lasting relationship with a woman, you have to be on good terms with your dad. You have to become a man to have a proper relationship. Otherwise, you're just a player. And so this will be certainly an issue in the future.
William was longing to meet her.
He's certainly mama's boy here. And if she's daddy's boy, the issue is even twice as big.
As is William as well. Fantastic support. And then my father as well. We had a couple of
Shaking his head a little bit when he talks about fantastic support.
no, the family together have been
He pulls his mouth back. It means it's not an unpleasant thing to talk about. He's slightly embarrassed.
absolutely solid support.
Shaking his head, solid support. Apparently not.
And my grandparents as well have been wonderful throughout this whole process, and they've known for quite some
So
time.
now he's much more still when he talks about the grandparents. So he has certainly a good relationship to the grandparents.
So
And Meghan, your parents, do you think, while very happy for you, obviously, do you think
Yes.
they have worried at all
A little forced smile. She's nervous.
about the scale of what you're getting into?
Well, I'm sure at the onset, both my
She's
parents
handling
and
herself very,
my
very
close
well.
friends were concerned. We swept up in a media storm that, as I shared.
So that's this mispleasing gesture here. He certainly doesn't like the media storm.
Was not part of my life before that, but they also had never seen me so happy, and I think also once my friends,
So when she talks about friends, she has these worry lines and she's swallowing very hard. Something about her friends and her background. She's probably worried that he doesn't approve somehow. There's already these dynamics, which is of course very unequal. He being royal and she is just sort of a regular girl, also a more or less successful actress.
we were able to really meet Harry and my mom, who we spent a lot of time with. It was so much
She certainly likes her mom.
fun.
Your mum's amazing.
He certainly agrees. So I think that her mom is really representing the unconventional, the new. He's excited about this. Very refreshing to him.
It was just obvious that no matter what we were being put through, that
Put through, he makes a little sniff and he's scratching. So he certainly is mispleased with the whole having been put through certain things.
it was just temporary and that we were going to be able to get through that. So everyone was really happy with me. He's talked to my dad a few times, hasn't been able to meet him, just
Little asymmetric smile potentially, or forced smile. Doesn't think so high of her dad. Well, it's very interesting. He with his beard and looking at the photos of her dad, he has some resemblance, some very vague resemblance. We will come back to this.
but it's all been worth every effort.
It's been great.
Very smiley now. Nice to see.
Your ring,
And the little diamonds either side are from my mother's jewelry collection to make sure that she's with us on this crazy journey together.
That's very important to him, of course. And he says now the word crazy, so that's of course what he likes. He likes things to be unconventional and crazy. So it's not by accident that he chose the word.
And
It's beautiful. And he designed it. It's incredible.
yeah. Make sure it stays on that finger.
Of course.
Nice humor, very refreshing.
What does it mean to you, Meghan, to have those stones on your finger that once belonged to Princess Diana?
I think everything about Harry's thoughtfulness is, and the inclusion of that, and obviously not being able to meet his mom, it's so important to me to know that
She's sighing. Potentially this is a sign that his mom is overwhelming or too much for her already.
she's a part of this with us, and I think in
He's looking down. He's certainly sad about his mother.
being able to meet his
Still looking down.
aunts and also to be like Julia and just different people who are so important to his mom, I'm able to in some way know a part of her through them and of course through him, and it's
Looking down again. Of course there's a ring, but he's looking down a lot.
it's incredibly special, and to be able to have this,
Sadness.
which sort of links
Again.
where you come from. And
What do you think your mother would have thought of Meghan or said about Meghan?
Oh, they'd be thick as thieves, without question.
Thick as thieves. So, of course, it's a saying, but the word thieves, of course, he thinks of his mom being unconventional person, and that's, of course, what he sees in her. He's thinking of his mom as an outlaw, and potentially her as an outlaw as well.
And she would be over the moon, jumping up and down, so excited for me. But then, as I said, would have probably been best friends.
So best friends, they don't need to be best friends. There's a hierarchy in a family, and the parents come above the children. They're not on the same level. So that's the whole thing with a lasting marriage. So they have to form something themselves, something new. They are so much soulmates at the moment because they have similar history. So he lost his mom. There was a dysfunctional relationship between his dad and his mom. And her parents divorced when she was 6, I read. Her dad probably left, who knows? So there's a lot of need for both of them to create harmony in the family. That's a desire for kids, especially the youngest, to fix things, to create this harmony. So he wants someone to resemble mom, somehow getting her back. That's what he sees in her. Indeed, Meghan is a few years older. She's the responsible one. And she probably wants to fix her own family in a sort of unconscious way, trying to hold on to her dad, who potentially has left. And sometimes when we can't fix these kind of things, we go even to a bigger level. So she's trying to amend things between the United States, her background, and the UK. She's trying to make bridges, which is almost impossible for her, to link these two countries in their different backgrounds. And by marrying him, somehow she brings her parents together. She forces them back together to some degree, because now they're his parents-in-law. So this is often what this harmony is trying to do here. And this is, of course, not necessarily a good foundation for a relationship. So there will be too high expectations for her to replace his mother, and there will be too high expectations for him to be her missing dad. And also there's a strong link at the moment, later when kids are potentially involved. Also considering how unequal their status is, she has to basically deny her background, and it's all about his royal background. This, of course, creates big issues.
Meghan, so no, it is days like today when I really miss having her around and miss being able to share the happy news. But with the ring and with everything else that's going on, I'm sure she's
with us.
I'm sure she's with us, jumping up and down somewhere else.
So similar to his mom, to Princess Diana, she will be even more isolated in the royal family. First of all, she's not royal like Princess Diana, but then her background. She's mixed race. She's American, she's changing to the Church of England, she's becoming a UK citizen, and she's giving up her acting career. This already indicates, how much she has to adjust to basically fit in on a superficial level. But, deep down, she's just so different. As it often is the case, history repeats itself. His mom didn't survive the pressure, and now she's almost in a worse situation. In any case, it's a lovely couple, and I hope very much it lasts. And there's a good chance it will work. So best of luck and congrats. And I hope you liked the video. Talk to you later. Bye.